In my view, the justice system's been incredibly destructive. The doctrine of discovery, in a lot of ways, has served as a legal justification for dispossessing Indigenous peoples of their land. I very often encounter federal or provincial governments who effectively are looking to deny the existence of Indigenous title and rights. And I can tell you that this approach is completely unhelpful to reconciliation. Despite all of the great work that was done by the TRC, as we know, questions are still being asked about whether all of the relevant documents were obtained, and the government still seems to be dithering to some extent on fully implementing the recommendations. I think we as a society must be able to come to terms with the sort of the full and unvarnished truth about these issues in order to move forward.
I think we can definitely say that we've made progress in some areas, while in other places we might have stalled. Not creating health infrastructure near Indigenous communities, having people come into environments of care where they don't feel trusted. These are all healthcare rights that we don't think about. When I first came in as a leader almost a decade ago, I sometimes felt like I was off to the side, just commenting on Indigenous health. But the effect and impact of the TRC is that I found that there's been a transition where, you're just a voice with a special, lived experience, but that lived experience, it lateralizes across a lot of different areas. The disempowerment that Indigenous communities experience, it's a magnification of all the things that we're not necessarily doing right in health. National Indigenous Day is a great opportunity for us to reflect on the role of Indigenous peoples in the founding of this country. On the 22nd, that's where we see whether or not any of these conversations had any impact.
The quote is something like, "Education got us into this mess, education will get us out." In BC, we are really lucky to work under a curriculum that mandates K-12 integration of Indigenous worldviews. Specifically with residential schools, I believe it comes up in the curriculum in grade 5, 9, and 10 social studies. Aboriginal education is everyone's responsibility. And although we're on that path and we're making progress, we still do have a long way to go. I think on June 22nd, collectively as a country, as a province, as a parent, as a sister, we keep taking these steps forward. Reconciliation is not a one-day event. Celebrating Indigenous peoples in Canada is not a one-day event. It is a journey moving forward.